Fahrenheit 9/11 is a 2004 documentary directed and written by Michael Moore, produced by Harvey Weinstein, Bob Weinstein, Michael Moore, Jim Krasinski, and Monica Hampton. The film was distributed by the Fellowship Adventure Group, Lionsgate Films, and IFC Films. Fahrenheit 9/11 undertakes a critical analysis of the George W. Bush presidency, the war on terror in Afghanistan, the Iraq War, and its coverage in the media. Fahrenheit 9/11 is a performative mode documentary which uses experimental combination of styles used to stress subject experience and share an emotional response to the world. Connecting personal accounts or experience juxtaposed with larger political or historical issues, commentators often refer to it as the Michael Moore style, as he often uses his own personal stories as a way to construct social truths. An example of this in Fahrenheit 9/11 is where Moore goes into detail about how Marine recruiters in his hometown of Flint, Michigan attempt to recruit people in a lower socioeconomic area compared to a higher area due to people being more likely to join the military if they aren't relatively well off. This also links back to his argument that the war on terror is a form of class warfare where the upper class is sending the lower class to a war which they started. Imagery within Fahrenheit 9/11 is... The opening credits of the film also show members of the Bush administration having makeup put on them, symbolic of them hiding behind a false facade, e.g. Bush, Cheney, Rumsfeld, and Rice. After the opening credits, it cuts to a blank screen. Moore does a great job bringing about an emotional response. Pathos is presented as soon as the screen becomes pitch black, and the only sound is a noise from September 11. You can hear the horror in the people's voices and the loud bang from the planes hitting the building. Moore's intention for this scene was to really start the film off. He also used the scene to persuade his audience into feeling what he felt and how he saw how horrible this event truly was. Also, an interview with a woman who lost her husband during the attack on September 11 was another way that Moore uses pathos to convince his audiences. There was a reason that this interview was shot close up. Moore wanted the viewers to see the sadness in the woman's eyes, to feel the pain that she felt, and to show the emptiness she had. By showing the widow's emotions in this way, Moore opened the door and collected the viewer's sympathy. However, he still left every scene open-ended for the viewer to collect their own opinion on the attack. Moore's creative use of sound helps to reinforce ideas and is also used to depict the character of individuals. An example of this is going over the 2000 US presidential election between Democrat and Vice President Al Gore versus Republican and Texas Governor George W. Bush. The music used for Gore is presidential and hopeful, while for Bush it is hillbilly, a connection to his Texas cowboy image, and it makes him look incompetent and out of place on the presidential stage. Within the film, Moore uses imagery and sound together to portray a juxtaposition of Afghanistan and the Wild West. It politically parallels 9/11 with the Wild West and implies Afghanistan is the frontier and that Bush, Cheney, and Rumsfeld are saviors to the region. The successful transfer of meaning depends on the shared library of images between the transmitter and the receiver. The use of the Magnificent Seven music and the Bonzar imagery of the map implies that it's the Wild West and it's undiscovered. After this, Moore uses footage of Bush saying that they'll smoke them out, which Moore uses with old footage from the 50s of an old cowboy Wild Western show where they say the same thing, implying that Bush sees this as the frontier. Overall, Michael Moore's cinematic approach to his 2004 political analysis documentary Fahrenheit 9/11 conveys a critical analysis of the Bush presidency with regards to its actions during 9/11, war in Afghanistan and Iraq, and the impact these events had on American communities in the aftermath.